Today, we're here in Tijuana, Mexico, separated by an international border and 15 miles from San Diego, United States of America. For many of us who cross regularly, one of the biggest barriers is the several-hour border wait to cross north. But here's the good news. One of the biggest return on investments in your entire life is the time you spend waiting in between two nations. That time is not wasted, but preparing you for a life of living in between. So let me share, I bet that you're a borderlander and you don't even know it. A borderlander, someone who crosses a border and crosses back and forth and lives back and forth. Over time, they become a person of both sides, integrating the here and there of their lives. Of course, today I'm speaking of a very physical border between two nations. But there are so many human boundaries we could cross every day if we chose. Physical, emotional, religious, political. I'll share the first time I crossed. It was 10 a.m. on a Sunday, and I was 12. My family was visiting San Diego, and we decided to cross to Tijuana to explore new kinds of tacos and talk to shop owners about their day-to-day life. I had my first taco al pastor and bought a gigantic piñata full of candies I had not yet tasted. But I was also a little uncomfortable. My 12-year-old Spanish was limited to ingredients for a salad, and I could not read menus or signs. I was also unprepared to see myself in 12-year-old girls on the street who had totally different lives from mine. To top it off, we crossed the border at 5 p.m. on a Sunday, the most popular time to cross back north. And the entire 2-hour border wait, I really needed to pee. I crossed like this until I was 17. At 18, I permanently relocated to San Diego to attend college. I really wasn't looking for the border, but it somehow took a hold of me. A few months and weeks into my freshman year, I started getting new invitations to cross. Friends would invite me to come for family birthday parties in La Mesa or a movie in Plaza Rio. I remember the initial thrill when they would take me to the other side in their car, and I realized that my mental map of Tijuana was limited to the 10 square blocks I used to walk with my family. Over time, I was starting to cross 2 times a month, enlarging my circle of friends in Tijuana and taking up professors on opportunities to come to Tijuana and study about the environmental, economic, and political realities of the border through their friends, who would tell me stories of what it was like to be a factory worker or an entrepreneur or a social activist. See, I was trying on my sea legs of being a borderlander, gaining new lenses to see the world and tools, but I was also a little insecure. I would come home with my energy depleted, switching between 2 languages in a day, and with the questions emerging in my life. And I was also uncertain if this was the right way to spend my time. What's more, my family wasn't always happy about how much I was crossing. I had dropped my honors thesis, I was late to class, I missed final exams, all because I was stuck in a border wait. But I couldn't stop crossing. Over 4 years of college, I crossed the border about 100 times, which means that I spent about 800 hours here in Tijuana and about 200 hours in the border wait to cross back. If any of you are laughing or groaning with me, maybe you, like me, survived the border wait with an elote in one hand, a churro in the other, and earbuds playing your favorite podcast. See, we're quite a significant community, just in our corner of the 2,000-mile border between US and Mexico, la línea entre México and los Estados Unidos. San Diego to Tijuana, our corner, over 100,000 people cross every day. And some cross every single day. To shop, to go to school, to visit friends and family. And some are not able to cross because they don't have the correct papers. But their life is still so bound up in the border that they're living in between. I became a borderlander when I realized that my life, my vocation, my friendships were bound up on both sides of the border. I would not be able to be an or kind of person. I would have to be an and. See, borderlanders are beautiful to behold. There's a certain magic and wonder watching people who integrate two sides of their life into a single being. So obviously, I'm a little bit obsessed. So much so that I started following these borderlanders in their lives, curating mini stories about their day-to-day, releasing one per week on a very prestigious news platform. My Instagram. My work at University of San Diego has me working with student social entrepreneurs from all over the globe. And Jorge is one of our mentors. A serial entrepreneur from here in Tijuana, he embodies the binational startup experience. But he had to cross from his bubble the first time he raised investment on the US side. But now, the border gives him a daily gift: contact with multiple perspectives. And he doesn't just stop at crossing the US-Mexico border. Weekly, he hosts a podcast over Google Chat with friends from India to Holland about technology and entrepreneurship. Hundreds of hours spent with these friends give him insight into new value creation, something no way possible were he to have stayed in his bubble. I met Beryl through my work with an immigrant community in San Diego, where over 30 languages are spoken. Community members, restaurateurs, and residents have made this community rich with their contributions. And Beryl is one of the people that helps them articulate this into a sense of place. She's a place maker, someone who looks at the design of a location to figure out what would make someone want to come in and stay a while. Something like good design, coffee, music, community, access to public transportation. Her placemaking work has taken her to the US-Mexico border. She and her students are part of an ambitious project to reimagine the place of the border. For anyone who's crossed, you'll know that both San Diego and Tijuana, the entrances to both look more like a back door than a front door to the nations. What if instead we could reimagine the place? A combination and a hybrid of aesthetics, architecture, food, and language, a place that people want to stay and linger instead of rushing across to somewhere else. A metaphorical front stoop between two neighbors' homes. I wish you knew my friend Bianca, who got hooked on working for environmental and worker justice after spending hours across the border from her hometown of Chula Vista, California. Now she invites other Latinas to take everyday action for justice through her brand, Baja Urban. Or Jim, my San Diego originating friend, who started border blending a few years ago, and now invites people to come to Tijuana and try out living here for a couple months, where he'll set you up with housing and Spanish lessons. Or Melissa, my bilingual pastora friend, who is not afraid of religious or national boundaries because her friends are on both sides. Or Azul, my Mexico City and Tijuana-raised friend who is singer, songwriter, and author of a book on how to transcend personal limitations through music. See, these stories are unique, but there's threads of commonality. First, these borderlanders would be such if they never crossed the US-Mexico border, because they cross boundaries every day. They're smart and savvy. They may know the traffic patterns in San Diego and Tijuana, preparing their day efficiently with a border flavor of common sense. They also know how to read their audience, whether to respond in English or Spanish or in between gradients of Spanglish. And to read body cues, something as simple as to go for a kiss or a handshake. Second, they possess evolved and evolving minds, Cognitive research from Harvard and the University of Toronto has indicated that bilingual minds have increased literacy, executive function, and longer-lasting memory. But studies haven't yet looked at the relational capital and intelligence that develops when people occupy multiple places and cultures at the same time, creating third cultures, third spaces, third ways of being. Third, we're wired for the future in a unique way. A few steps ahead of the rest of us, borderlanders are creating a future the rest of us will meet with. The terrors of the future, trafficking and war and misuse of technology, and the opportunities of the future provided by international commerce, improved medicine, will require that we are adept at crossing in between. And these borderlanders use this intercultural fluency in a way the rest of us will have to learn. In 2016, University of California, San Diego released the initial findings of a multi-year binational study called The Students We Share. Researchers were curious to know about the thousands of students that were educated on both sides of the border. Students report affinity to both nations. And traditionally, we've considered them victims of circumstance for a transitional childhood. But what the study advocates is these students are perfectly positioned to lead in a binational, bicultural, bilingual economy. They're a workforce priority. Their cross-border fluency is their competitive edge. So based on my study of these curious humans, I've done what I can to make more of them. I've taken dozens of students and colleagues across to Tijuana, to Chiapas, to Ensenada, across borders and boundaries within the United States, like the Interstate 8, that acts as a division between economic realities. I do this because I believe that crossing is the best teacher, and that learning to live in between is the best competitive advantage I can pass on to my students. See, living in between, we live more expansively. Knowing and loving people who grew up different from us adds spice and flavor to life, challenging what we know about what is good and beautiful and best. The benefits of living in between include a richer life, but they're also insanely practical, preparing us for the jobs and opportunities of the future. So some of you are saying, you're right, I am a borderlander. You spent some significant time crossing and some significant time in between. First, be proud. Second, don't just stop by crossing yourself. Find someone you can help cross as well. We need more border ambassadors to usher in a new way of being. If you're saying, I'm not a borderlander, and I can't imagine living in between, well, first, let me share that the people I introduce you to today are extraordinary, but they're also ordinary, crossing everyday boundaries in their life. I bet that there is a border in your life, a relational chasm, or a family member with a political or religious difference. It's definitely scary to cross, and you may be at times uncertain about what is to come of it. But I found that there's always a return on investment for crossing, and always a personal benefit for spending some time in between. So make a lifestyle of crossing. Find life in between. It's an investment in your future. It's an investment in our future. Thank you.